Now there are four ways you can post payments in the system here. One of the places you can go to is the patient demographics by clicking on the blue dude. Then of course pulling up a patient real quick, and then down at the bottom you can click on the responsible party tab to post a statement payment. And I'll let you watch the statement payment training video to learn a little bit more about this. Next you can go to the transaction entry tab and click on the payment button. And where's the payment coming from? Who's the source? Is it the patient or the insurance? So you can decide which one you want to post the payment from. And of course you have a bunch of additional options, and I'll leave that up to you to watch the payment entry training video. Otherwise we're going to go ahead and click cancel and close out of the patient demographics. And the third way is going to your ERA or electronic remittance review screen, and all your electronic EOBs that come back if you signed up for it will come into this screen when you click on that button. And then there you can post your payments from those electronic EOBs as well. The fourth and final way here that I'm going to show you is by clicking on the fourth button, the Quick Pay screen. The Quick Pay screen is divided into three sections. First, in the upper left hand corner here is where you're going to enter in the claim ID per patient, and after you enter it in the box here, it'll pull the patient's name, the insurance carrier, and then the charges down below that are tied to that visit number, claim ID, or date of service. If you have more than one, maybe three or more, let's say, on the EOB, you can come over here and use the EOB. And what that does is it will automatically put in the check number for every patient that you enter in tied to that EOB. Because if not, you'd have to type in the check number for each patient over and over again. So avoid typing it all in, just come over here, create a static template by clicking on the EOB button, enter it once here, and you'll never have to enter the check number again until you're done with the EOB on, let's say, it's from Blue Cross Blue Shield with 20 patients. Just enter it once and you're done, and enter in all 20 patients without having to enter the check number, the insurance carrier, payment code, also the total amount of the check. Let's say it's $10,000 for 20 patients. Once you enter in the total, every time you post a payment for each patient till you're done with all the patients on that EOB, it'll give you a remainder amount, and hopefully that's zero. So in other words, this is a great template to keep track of over here once you click on the EOB to set it up, and we'll cover that in just a second. But again, the only time you probably want to use this is maybe if there's perhaps 3 or more patients on the EOB. If there's just 1 or 2, it's probably quicker just to enter them in one at a time over here and posting the payments and not having to keep track of it versus those large EOBs where you do want to keep track and not have to enter in so much information, but just enter it in once. Now the Quick Pay screen, you can see over here, the source of payment, who's it coming from, the insurance or the patient. Typically, only insurance is entered in the screen. Sure, you can enter in the patient payment. You want to watch the payment entry video to post patient payments, because in here, the only thing you have to work with is the claim ID number or the visit to type it in here. Because you don't have a patient name to type in, because you can see it's static here, you can't type it in here and have a lookup for the patient. So posting payments for patients, I'd rather do that in the payment entry screen and just post all my insurance payments using the Quick Pay here. Let's pretend that we have one patient and we just want to quickly post a payment from the EOB for. To get started, we're going to start in the upper left hand corner and work our way down here. So first of all is the check number. Go ahead and type in the check number that the carrier is paying out for this patient. What's also nice about entering in check numbers here is that if you need to, you can always look up the check numbers later on, and you can do that under the billing menu, down to check search. And then of course type in the number here, 1234. We'll pretend that's the check number. Then click the refresh button. And of course in my office key, my demo, all my patients like to use the check number 1234, but in your office key, I don't think everybody will be using that number. So you can look down here and get a little bit of detail, but if you need more detail, just go ahead and highlight the line item that you would like more information and click on the View Detail button, or do what I do, just double click on it. And here we go. The total amount for that check was $62. And it came from the payer, Ace USA Insurance. So I'll close out of here, close out of there, and I'll go back to my Quick Pay. It minimized because I didn't close out of it. And I'll click on the button here to maximize it. Okay, so the check number next is the claim ID / visit number. Now, every time you schedule a patient in the appointment scheduler here, it automatically creates a visit number. So when you take that claim and you submit it out to the insurance carrier is going to take that number and turn it back into a claim ID. So in the software here, it's the visit number. When the insurance sends you back the claim, it's going to be same number, but just called the claim ID. In fact, there's some EOBs that I get back where it doesn't even say it's the claim ID. So what you want to do is look around and find that number. In fact, some of the numbers that I found had the letter A attached to it. For example, I'll click in here and type in the number off of this EOB, and there's that letter A. Don't use the A, just go ahead and backspace and get rid of it, and then go ahead and hit the Tab key after you typed in the claim ID. As you recall, in the software here, everything's pretty much based on tabs. There's no refresh button here, but the moment I click tab and it leaves this field here, it'll do a lookup. And it finds that the patient is Homer Simpson for this claim ID. And of course his insurance carrier is Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then down below we have his visit numbers, and there's two of them that are exactly the same. For the date of service, you can see December 8th, 2005, and also down here, he has two different charges, 10022 and 10040. In fact, if you want to know what these numbers are and all these lines, it's really simple actually. If you look up here, and you look to this line as the template where it says visit number, well, down below there's a visit number and a visit number, and then this is divided into two rows. This visit number, the top row, is your data service procedure code, and likewise down here for this visit number, the top row is the data service procedure, and so forth on down the line here. And also for your second visit number. So right off the bat, looking at the template above where it says charge, and it's the second row of the column here, go down to the next visit is $700 for this procedure code 10022, and then 10040 is $525. Of course, the insurance portion, the payment portion, if they had a copay, if they did, it would be $15 here, and then the insurance portion would be a little bit less than $700. And then you have your allowed amount and what's not allowed. And then finally, the payment that you see up here is going to be spread. So if the insurance paid $100, then of the $100 up here, we need to spread it out over these two charges. We don't need to, but whatever the EOB is telling us to spread that out on. Maybe that paid just on one charge here of 10022, didn't pay out on the second charge, so maybe the $100 just gets applied to this line item down below. Now before I go any further, I mean it's basically oversimplifying, but typing in a payment, putting the payment, splitting the payment between the two charges down below, and then clicking OK. But before I do that, let's do this. Let's pretend I got an EOB that has 2 patients on there, or 3 or 4 or 5, and instead of me, after I post a payment here and clicking OK, and then having to retype the check number in and some of these other fields like the deposit date, I'm going to come over here and use my EOB template. So that way all I have to do is enter in the check number once for everybody who's on that EOB, and then as I'm posting patient by patient, Homer and then maybe John Doe, the next one, I don't have to retype in that check number. So to get rid of this, I'll go ahead and just delete the claim ID here, delete it, hit the tab key, clears most of it out, and then I can delete the check number and hit the tab. So basically everything's going to be the same. The only difference is I'm going to turn this little recorder on over here, this little template, so it can help me keep track of things and also help me not to have to enter in so many things, but just one time, like the check number. So I'm going to click on the EOB button. And it's very simple, really, actually. You just got a few fields here, like the posting date, we'll say it's today's date, and then the deposit date of when we're going to deposit the check, and we'll say for this EOB that came from Blue Cross Blue Shield, let's say it's $840 here, so my deposit date will say will be next Tuesday. That's usually every Tuesday when I get to the bank. Then the check number, whatever that is, of course. Then the carrier who's paying this, and I'll type in the letter B and hit the tab key. And it's going to be Blue Cross Blue Shield here, so I'll double click there. And then the total amount of the check that's supposed to be divvied out over X number of patients. And for this EOB, we'll just say we have 2. So I'm going to type in 840 for both patients, and I'm going to hit the tab key. And then the PI is payment insurance. If you forget what these acronyms mean, you can always click the lookup button here. And there's PI payment insurance. Of course, you can create your own payment code. It's payment from Blue Cross Blue Shield, but for this exercise, I'm going to keep it as PI and click OK. And then click OK. Now, the moment I click OK, it does 2 things. First of all, over to the right-hand side, it enters in the numbers here. First of all, the date today, posting date, the check number, the insurance carrier, and the payment code, which is payment by insurance, PI, and then the total amount of $840 of this check that I'll be posting between these 2 patients that I have. And then it'll show me, after I start posting, it'll keep a running tally for me if the payment's been posted, and then what's remaining, what's left over. So hopefully after I've posted for all patients, in this case 2, I have a $0 amount. If not, then it's an indicator to me that perhaps I'm missing something and I need to go back and rework everything. And then down here's the last patient that I posted payments to. That's the first thing. The second thing over to the left-hand side is really nice, is that the check number. You notice the fields turn gray. Well, I can't come in here and delete it or check it or do anything to it, and that's great because for this EOB, I don't want to have to retype in the check number. It needs to be static. So I'll type in the claim number, it'll pull up Homer Simpson, go ahead and post all of his payments, type in the next claim number, pull up the next patient, post all his payments. The thing I will never have to do is enter in the check number over and over again. So that makes it nice there. Then also the payment code is going to be the default that I chose my template EOB, and also the deposit date.